session for Thursday, September 28th. Please join me for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for attending. We have quite a number of folks on our Zoom link too.
So, Madam Chairman, before we get into our agenda, I'd like to make a motion to temporarily suspend the agenda to allow the board to address an important matter.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to suspend the agenda. I don't know if that's open to discussion or not. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Joe DiNardo, Select Board Member Joe DiNardo is on the phone. He voted aye, so motion carries. We've suspended the agenda.
So it gives me no pleasure to have to address these issues tonight, but recent events require that the board face some difficult issues. The Town of Rutland Select Board has previously declined to adopt a declaration of inclusion as not necessary based on its prior written commitments to these principles and its view the town's conduct in treating everyone the same spoke louder than any words. However, recent words written by Selectman Don Chaffee require the Select Board to revisit this issue, and I make a motion that this board adopt the following. It has always been the practice of the Town of Rutland to welcome all persons, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, or disability, and to treat all persons with respect and dignity. The Town of Rutland has been and will continue to be a place where individuals can live free from discrimination in any of its forms.
You need a second.
I do.
You need a second.
I do.
I second that, but I want to stipulate one thing, that the reason I did not sign that before, because I think you can run your mouth about all kinds of things and that you're going to treat people equal. My challenge to everybody is treat everybody equal. Don't talk about it, do it. Don't have black friends or Jewish friends or Indian friends. They should be your friends, not because of the color of their skin or their religion or their sexual orientation.
There we go. You want to turn it up?
Okay, motion's been made. Just a reminder to the folks on the Zoom call, please do mute. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the inclusion resolution as read by John Paul. Discussion. Don?
Well, it's kind of appropriate that you called on me, Mary, because I just heard my name mentioned in this suspension motion by Selectman Fagnan. And I think that's highly appropriate. It's highly discriminatory. And he, being a lawyer, ought to know better than to indict any person, including a member of this board, without a fair hearing, without any knowledge of the particular situation, and based on innuendo, slander, discrimination, an absolute untruth by people that are playing a political game. They're bringing ideology and politics into a nonpartisan board, which we are, a nonpartisan board. Now, everybody knows our philosophies. You're the chairman of the Democratic Party. I have a chairman of the Republican Party. But when we run for office, we run nonpartisan. And I've tried to be that. Those statements of Selectman Fagnan are inappropriate to be entered into the minutes of any meeting without proof or anything else, based on letters based on input, based on intimidation from people that don't even live in this town over a matter that hasn't been fully discussed and was supposed to be fully discussed because people are on the agenda and they're here this evening to discuss it. And I would assume that when they discussed it, there would be a chance for an explanation of this particular problem, supposedly, that we have. And yet, Mr. Fagnan has preempted that whole process with his own egotistical motion, which is totally out of order. And I want to go on the record as saying that, totally out of order to suspend a meeting and to attack another member of the Board of Selectmen over an item that hasn't even been discussed. And that's all I have to say. And
Okay.
we will discuss it, Madam Chair, at the appropriate time. And I thought that appropriate time was going to be when the people that had requested to be at this meeting that are here would make their statements, and anyone online would make their statements. And then possibly the matter could be resolved in a very, very simple manner. And this is way overboard. You want to vote a motion of inclusion? I'll vote for it. That's what this is all about. This is all about exactly what was said on the Facebook page. This is about a whining minority that never is content to lose. That minority was the inclusion minority that presented that resolution to us, that was fully discussed, and that we fully vetted, and that we voted on and voted 4-1 against putting it in. They weren't content then, and they're not content now. And obviously they found a ruse to be able to bring it up again in front of this board, who had very good reason. As a matter of fact, John Paul Fagnan had one of the best reasons in the world for his seconding of my motion and for his vote not to consider the vote of inclusion, because he said it was not an appropriate matter to come before a board. And it isn't, and it wasn't, and it still isn't. And if we consume ourselves with this national debate of division and racism and continual talks of racism and accusations of racism whenever somebody disagrees with somebody else, we are seriously, seriously avoiding our duties to the people of the town of Rutland. And that concludes my statement. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Right. Mr. DiNardo, is there anything you wish to say?
I'm not sure, Mary. I'm disappointed by, I think what I see as conflicting statements, because regardless of who you are, and it doesn't matter what minority you are, whether it has to do with your ideologies or your color or anything else, you're still supposed to be treated the same. And the fact that what was written, I believe, on Facebook condemns them and calls them puny, insignificant minorities, it's still a minority, and it's still discrimination, and that board is not, we're not supposed to do that. And although I still believe that we have not ever discriminated against anyone, maybe it is time we put it in writing and say it. I mean, I still believe that when this was first presented to us, it made me feel like in the past the town had not been completely open or completely able to include everyone. And that's what angered me about it, is because I don't like being told I don't do something that I know I do. And that's why I voted against it. But maybe we have to make a public statement now, because it is obvious that one of our own members doesn't believe that all minorities now are equal. Some minorities are less important than other minorities, and that kind of an inflammatory statement that may be the true character to the individual. I remember a long thing about oaths and commitments and everything that night, and went on and on and on, and yet has to have some nasty things to say about a minority, whether it's a minority he thinks is important or not important. It's still out there. And I think that, I guess we're going to have to step up now. We're going to have to take a position, because one of our own violated what we said we did, and we don't need to have it in writing. We just do it all the time. But now we're going to put it on paper. We're going to sign this thing. And it's probably just lip service, because if you can't live your personal life and your public life the same way, and then you're in trouble. You either stand up and lead by example and, do as I say, not as I do. I think that's what my father used to tell me, those kinds of things. You hear all these cliches out there. You either going to live your life the way you preach it or not. And, for me, this is very difficult, because I spent a lot of time being a leader in the fire department, and you lead by example, and what you do every day has to be what you say. And you can't get off your public podium and get into your private podium and start bad mouthing minorities, regardless if you like them or don't like them or what they stand for. It's a statement that everybody's the same, and you would tolerate everybody's beliefs and everybody's thoughts, and you respect those. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to respect them, and you don't call people names, and you don't make fun of them. So, yeah, this time around, I'm going to have to put my vote for it. But it's sad that we got here, and it's a shame that people just aren't smart enough to think before they put words on paper or words on Facebook or wherever they put them. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any further comments from select board members?
Nope, my only thing I have to say is my motto's been for the last 50 years, labels are for cans and not for people. So we better stop labeling people, whoever is doing it.
John Paul?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Call a question.
Just before we do that, I would point out that this is an open meeting, and subject to 1 VSA 312H, the public shall be given an opportunity to comment on a matter before us.
Madam Chair.
We have public comment later on in the agenda, Mary. The
Madam
agenda's
Chair.
been suspended for purposes of the board addressing it. There's another piece of
I
business.
can't
we have
hear a
to
word you're
accomplish.
saying, John Paul.
Could you repeat that, please?
There's another piece of business that we need to accomplish before we move on to public comment.
All right. So let me start with, are there people in, I appreciate your advice. I have consulted with counsel and I've looked at the statute. So let me first ask, are there people in this room who wish to be heard on this particular motion? 1, 2. Okay. Are there people on the Zoom meeting who wish to be heard on this motion? And I can't, there's one hand up. And I'm not sure I'm scrolling down for the whole list. If you use the hand icon, it will move you to the top of the list. There's 2. Okay, is there anyone on the phone who wishes to be heard on this? And I don't see anything. So,
Madam Chair,
are you raising a point of order, Mr.
yes, I
Chaffee?
am raising a
Okay,
point of
then
order.
that would be good to
There have
identify.
been accusations made by every single person that has spoken so far, which are inaccurate and need to be addressed before these other people get to make the same accusations, which are in error. And it's a very, very simple explanation. If you will allow me,
Mr. Chaffee, you've already had 5 or 6 minutes.
I didn't get,
I mean,
Madam Chair.
I'm just pointing out
that was quite a dissertation by our absent board member. Quite a dissertation. and
If you-
quite an attack on a fellow board member.
2 minutes, Mr. Chaffee.
Like 2 minutes.
Go
It
for it.
takes more than 2 minutes. You're attacking a member of this board and you're going to sit here and give me 2 minutes to defend myself? That's an incredible action on your part. This whole matter has been taken totally out of context for one simple reason. Those people that cited that Facebook post that I made to Mr. Jones failed to post the entire thread. The thread that was on Facebook was about the mascot in Rutland City School Board consideration. It was about changing the mascot from the Raider symbol to the Raven symbol. It became a major and pretty much a sole factor in an election in Rutland City on the school board, where 3 candidates ran on the proposition that they wanted it changed back to Raiders. I happen to be an alumni, and I happen to be in contact with a lot of alumni from my school, Rutland High School. I was class president in 1963.
That's everybody.
And I took an active part in that campaign. I knew all 3 of the candidates that were running. It was a pretty active and polite, but very factual campaign. And when the dust had all cleared, SOS, Charlene Seward, Stephanie Studley, and Tricia O'Connor, the 3 candidates that were supporting the reinstatement of the Raider name, won by a large margin in the city of Rutland. Now, when you win by a large margin, that is considered a majority. Those people that were on the other side for the Ravens, for keeping that Raider name off, are in the minority. And they were a small minority because it was a pretty much a landslide election. It was a slam dunk. Now, those people who were on the losing side were not content to lose. So they kept whining and whining and whining in the newspaper, at the school board meetings, on Facebook. They were maligning the people that actually won the election by saying that they were out of touch with reality, that they were out of touch with the 21st century, and that they needed to be able to respect Indigenous people, and a whole mess of arguments that had already been made. So I made the statement to Mr. Jones, who I didn't know, and I still don't know. I'm assuming based on what I've heard that he may be with us tonight, this evening, but I didn't know him. I certainly didn't know if he was black, brown, orange, or white, nor did I care. I was making a statement on Facebook that he represented a puny minority, a whining puny minority. It had absolutely nothing to do with race. I don't make decisions based on race. I don't even consider race. I've served alongside all kinds of colors and all kinds of religions and all kinds of races in the military. I've had them beside me in combat. I've had them underneath me as workers. I don't consider race. That was not a racial statement. It had nothing to do with race. It had to do with politics. And anyone who's sitting in this room, a political room, ought to know that in an election, there's 2 sides, the majority and the minority on every single issue. That's the minority I was talking about with Mr. Jones. And are you Mr. Jones? I made an error of being flip. My friends, it's Facebook. It's Facebook. I made an error initially of saying, what the heck, I didn't use the word heck, is a Willister Jones, because I had never heard the name before. I'd never heard of him. It sounded like a strange name to me, but it was a flippant comment. But the comment that I made about him being a minority was that he was part of a minority that lost the school board election in March on the Raider issue. And right here and right now, with your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to apologize to Mr. Jones. I didn't mean it as a racial comment at all. It was a political comment. And I would like to shake your hand. No, thank you. I would like to apologize.
I accept your
If you
apology.
took that wrong, it was not intended that way.
It was more of you making fun of my name.
No, I was not,
Yes, you were.
nor would I ever make fun of your
You
name.
jumped right into bullying me for my name.
Okay, so let's bring the discussion back here. Mr. Chaffee, thank you. You have taken somewhat more than 2 minutes. There are,
So I'll respond to that. I'd like to
Okay.
respond to that. Because I'm becoming more familiar with Facebook, but I've been provided with some Facebook posts that,
Excuse me,
Mr.
JP, may I ask, can you speak up, please?
sure, I'm not that familiar with Facebook, but I've been provided with some Facebook posts from Mr. Trophy's page. One of them reads, "The true tragedy in the Breonna Taylor was not smart enough to have a boyfriend who would just open the door and surrender, not confront officers of the law with a weapon and shoot first at them. Unfortunately, she made a very bad choice, and this boyfriend and bad decisions sometimes have very bad consequences." Mr. Trophy appears to be blaming Breonna Taylor, who was shot through a wall while she was sleeping, for her own death, because her boyfriend was not aware it was police who were coming into the apartment. Another posting from Mr. Trophy's Facebook reads, "Ben Crump just said there was systematic racism. Really? The word is systemic, and he is a lawyer. Did he get his law degree by mail order, or maybe just because he was Black?" These postings satisfy me that Mr. Trophy has acted in a manner not beholden of this office. I don't care how small a minority is, the majority must respect the minority view in any situation. And it's the ignoring of the minority view in all of our situations nationwide that lead us to where we are now.
okay, thank you. Let's go now to folks in the room. There were 2 that raised your hands. Mike Gay, I know you're a Rutland Town resident. Mr. Jones. Are you? I don't know.
I live on Campbell Road where the right side is technically Rutland City and the left side is Rutland Town.
Yeah, we've
So
gone over
I
that.
technically fall in Rutland City,
Okay.
but
Well, let's start with you then, please.
okay. I don't really have any comments. I just have a question for you, Don.
If you are there,
Okay.
yeah, you'll be picked up a little better. Thanks.
Why does my opinion not matter to you?
Your opinion on the issue of the Raiders does not matter to me, because in my humble opinion, we settle these disputes through the elective process. And I felt, and I think a whole mess of people in the city of Rutland felt, that the issue was settled by that elective process on March 6th, when the people voted for those that wanted the Raider name back into the Rutland city system. That's simply it.
Okay. Mr. Jones, if you could just address comments to the board and not do interrogations,
I'm
if you could,
sorry.
please. And we'd like to hear from you.
That's all I really had to ask. I just wanted to hear.
But on any other matter, Mr. Jones, I would respect your opinion and I would listen to it and so forth. But once something is settled, I think it's settled. And I think you have to learn to accept the will of the voters.
May I say my only comment really was go Ravens, and then he began to attack me. That's all I have to say.
Okay,
for your time.
thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Gay,
Some of what I had,
up here, please, so you pick up people can see you and then your voice will be picked up on
some
the
of the
tape.
questions I had, Don actually has addressed.
I specifically wanted to know because saying another whiny majority is a pretty broad statement, Don. And you need to consider your words more carefully. We all do. We all do. And I specifically wanted to know which exact minority you were associating him with, because your words were very broad. And there was no way to know what you were referring to.
Yes,
And you're a
sir.
good writer, Don. You're a good writer. You should know that words matter.
Well, Mike, I appreciate your comments. I really do. But I disagree with them because in that statement, in that Facebook post, I also, when Willister responded to me, my follow-up comment said, let the birds fly. That's obviously a reference to the Ravens. And I also said in the post that the issue was settled in March at the election, and that should have actually referred people back. Oh, he's talking about an election, and what issue was settled? The issue of Raiders. Maybe I assumed too much reading comprehension as an English teacher from people, but that's what I meant. So if it was taken incorrectly, and it was, I apologize for not being more specific, but.
You say it was,
Okay.
but your prior statements that you have made, Don, shows racial insensitivity.
Well,
It's-
maybe.
I was raised that there are words and there are deeds. Your deeds aren't matching your words, sir. And dismissive as you were towards Mr. Jones, and quite honestly, any other minority, is unacceptable. You're supposed to represent all of Rutland Town. I know a certain segment voted for you, just like a certain segment votes for all of us here. But you are supposed to represent everyone, Don. And you are dismissive of those everyone's.
No, that's not true.
Well, you say that, Don, but we can only go by
I
action.
wasn't dismissive of Mr. Jones as a racial minority, and that's what's being focused on this evening, and that is incorrect. That was not the statement.
Okay, let's
I'm done.
avoid the back and forth. Thank you. Are there any others in the room who wish to make a statement? Could you identify your, oh, you're just letting them in. Okay, fine. Marty?
Good me. I'm Marty Wasserman. I live here in town, and I guess I'm a little confused. I came here with the idea of what I heard, and the reason for my coming here, quite honestly, had nothing to do with Mr. Chaffee, Miss Ashcroft, Russell, Mr. Fagner, and Mr. DiNardo, but them as a group. I had heard and I had read, and this is what I was coming from because I wasn't at the meeting where that was discussed. But as a board, I was embarrassed when I read in the Rutland Herald that the Board of Selectmen for the town of Rutland voted not to sign that the
Inclusion.
inclusion. I found out after there were certain reasons, but still, to me, it didn't make a lot of sense for us not to sign it as a board, as a town, as part of the populace of the state. There was nothing in that I felt was hurting anybody. You even said it. You act as what that said. You did it in deeds. You did it in action rather than just putting the words down on paper. So did it hurt to also add it to be put down on paper? I implore you, I'm here tonight for one reason. I would like to see this town foster the feelings of the letter of inclusion. And I'm glad to hear what I heard from selectmen, that they do feel that we do it as you said, Mrs. Russell, by deed. And that's great. But let's put it down on paper so people know we are. And I'm just saying, I hope we sign it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Now we have two people on the phone. It was three, now it's back down to two. Mr. Pulsar, and I've been a little lenient, but please try and observe the 2 to 3 minutes, no more. Mr. Pulsar.
Okay, I'll try to read fast. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, but keep close to the mic.
Okay. So we live in divided time, so I'm going to try to get some common ground here a little bit. I was out of town for 2 weeks, so I don't know about Facebook posts, but I did listen to the select board meeting on May 24th. And I noticed I have something in common with 3 select board members. So I'm going to try to get some common ground here for a second. Mr. Chaffee, Ms. Russell, and Mr. Donato. We are Fratelli e Sorella di Madre o Padre Italiana Diversa. We are brothers and sisters from different Italian mothers and fathers.
Hold on
I'm
just a
half
minute,
Italian
Ron. Bill,
and
could
half
you click the
Kashubian,
sound up, please?
which is a Polish.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Italy is a big country and quite diverse. Our descendants came at different times from different provinces for different reasons. Within the so-called Italian community in America, there's a wide diversity of opinion. While some of our politicians stoke divisions and label others as a group, for instance, all Muslims are terrorists or the scary caravan to the south of the border, we tend to forget about the bad apples within our own community. My grandfather was very opposed to and despised the Italian mafia. In America, we point fingers at terrorists, but our entertainment culture seems to idolize Italian criminality, The Sopranos, Godfather. My mother's family lived in Tuscany during World War II. My grandfather despised Benito Mussolini and fascism. If you get a chance, please watch the PBS documentary, The Italian Americans from 2015. You will see how some Italian Americans became fascinated with the rise of Benito Mussolini until World War II, at least. Before that, even FDR went along with that sentiment to get votes from Italian Americans when he ran for governor of New York and president. One surprising aspect of this documentary was the internment camps for Italians who were not US citizens during World War II. My grandfather died in 2004. If he were to come back to life during these past 4 years, I don't think he would have been happy with the direction of America today, where his grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and a few great-grandchildren now live. He must be spinning in his grave. Like some Italians who initially supported Mussolini, today we have the same dynamic, people leaning toward authoritarianism over democracy and a cultist fascination for wannabe strongmen. Think about the stories of your Italian ancestors coming to America, their struggles and challenges, their hopes and dreams, and their family and descendants of today. Now think about the other people immigrating to America today from other countries for various and sometimes similar reasons. Do we treat them with respect and perhaps help them out or hire them? Or do we think, I'm assimilated now, I got mine, and they can figure it out on their own? Or worse, build the wall. Or even worse, do we act like those in America's past who mistreated Native Americans, Blacks, and by the way, Italians and Catholics as well? Mayor
Mr.
Chris Lewis risked losing his
Mr.
election because he
Pulsar?
tapped into his family roots.
Mr.
Yes?
Pulsar, could you wrap
Yes.
it up, please?
Yeah, I only got two more paragraphs, just short ones. Well, we know the story of Rutland First, but so ironically, Rutland First organization, ironically for the Rutland First organization, Rutland is not first. Economically, that would be Burlington and Chittenden County, which are more welcoming to refugees than we apparently are. I look forward to someday chatting with our 3 select board members and learning about some of their Italian family history. Buona giornata. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ron. Next with the hand raise on Zoom is Pat Hunter.
Hi there. Sorry. I just wanted, something has bothered me for quite a while, and I'm going to just go back to something from 2016. And the July 6th issue of Sam's Good News in 2016, Mr. Chaffee has an had an ongoing article, this one that day, talked about his grandfather coming to the US on a boat, about his father instilling in him a love for this country and how that love of country sometimes brings tears to his eyes. And then he went on to say, I quote, "I do not begrudge this for others, but until their eyes can be filled with the same tears and their hearts can feel the same joy as mine, whenever Old Glory is raised and wafts in the breeze, then no, I do not welcome them here. Flag burners, America haters, hyphenated Americans, and many similar phonies need not apply to join our country. We have no safe space for them." It's those last words, that last sentence, that causes me to bring this up again. I find it very troubling, especially that week in July of 2016, there were shootings in this country, killing several African-American men and several policemen dead. A statement such as that is a threat. It sets a tone. It gives permission for an atmosphere of vigilante action in our community. Statements such as that make all of us less safe. All of us, our children, grandchildren, our neighbors, and our police officers. It's the tone that we set here that creates an atmosphere of dissension and fear. And I think it's important to listen to the words and what that creates. I am so glad you are looking at this declaration of inclusion. We are all neighbors. We all belong here. I'm glad you are affirming our values, because I'd like to focus on the positive and how you affirm values in so many ways. I just want to say that, listen carefully to what people say and to the impact. We really have a great community, and tearing at the fabric and making people feel that they don't belong just doesn't belong here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pat. One more hand raised and on Zoom, and that is Joe Kraus. Joe Kraus, are you there? We can't see you. And it looks there.
Right.
You're unmuted.
Okay, thank you so much. Quite simply, Peg and I fully support the Declaration of Inclusion, and we would urge the board to adopt it as it was presented. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And since then, another hand, actually it was up before and now it's up again. Kirsten and Sawyer Hathaway. Not sure which one of you, maybe Kirsten? I think I saw her earlier.
Good evening, it's Kirsten.
Okay.
I just wanted to make, I have a question actually, which has been bothering me for some time. I would first like to say that, like many people, I was very disappointed to see that the select board voted against signing the statement of inclusion several weeks ago. I thank you for bringing this back to the table. I think that this is an important thing to talk about. My question is for Selectman Chaffee. You've stated repeatedly that you are an ethical person and have referred to the election repeatedly as a basis for why you have the ability to make the statements that you do. However, it did not escape my attention that during town meeting day this past March, you and your opponent tied at the east side polling location. You won at the west side polling location by a small margin. Your wife was a poll worker on the west side that day. Can you please explain why you felt that was ethically responsible? Thank you.
If you wish to respond.
I see no relevance to what she's talking about.
Right. I think that's the response, Kirsten. Okay, is there anyone on the phone who
I just want to say I'm disappointed, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone on the phone who wishes to be heard? All right. Any final select board comments, or are you ready to vote?
Call the question.
No, I'd just like to respond to Pat Hunter because I have a lot of respect for her, and it's nice to know that she reads Sam Good's News because I enjoyed writing my articles in there. That's part of the First Amendment, by the way, freedom of speech, and a lot of the comments this evening are really designed to curtail freedom of speech because You don't like what somebody says. And although I agree with what Pat Hunter said about that statement, I would hope that she feels the same way about the kind of violence that took place in Portland through a whole summer, where there were many, many Black people killing police officers, burning buildings, and so forth. Well, I guess there wasn't any safe space for a lot of people in those communities that had to endure that kind of violence for a whole summer. And I think to take a comment out of context when you have that kind of vivid personal example of people actually being seriously, seriously injured and in fact murdered in those kinds of riots, which were allowed to proliferate by one particular group of people. A little bit of fairness, Pat. That's all I ask you to look at.
Okay. The question has been called. All those on the select board in favor of adopting the inclusion declaration, please say aye.
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 Mr. Sorry, John, could you repeat that?
Aye.
Aye. And I'll vote aye. I voted for the inclusion resolution the first time, and I'm pleased to do so again. Okay. That ends the discussion on the inclusion resolution.
I have another motion to make. At this time, based on Mr. Chaffee's treatment of Mr. Jones and the postings which I have cited, I move this board censure Don Chaffee and remove him from his committee assignments.
Motion's been made to censure Mr. Chaffee and remove him from his committee assignments. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. Any,
I said the basis of my motion.
okay. Any select board member wish to comment?
Yeah, I just, Don, I want to be fair with you, but I don't think you realize when you talk, you still continually to say that other group. Well, that other group has as much right to their opinion as we do to ours. So nobody should be that other group. And it wasn't just Black people killing people. There were white people killing people with all the different riots. So I do take issue with that, Don. And that bothers me immensely, because in my heart of hearts, I try my darndest to accept my friends as just my friends, not the color of their skin and when we continue to say the Black people did it, then you're again, whether you realize it or not, you're blaming a race. You know what? There are darn good in all races, and there are darn bad in all races, including our race. You know, I cannot support not allowing people to be equal. We live in America, the land of the free. My 4 grandparents are immigrants. I would hope like hell nobody would treat them that way. I just bothers me terribly.
Okay. Mr. Chaffee.
Yeah, I don't think the people here heard or understood what I said. And I persist in saying that as an English teacher, you would have severely failed the reading comprehension test. and I can't see taking actions like Mr. Fagnan has proposed based on innuendo and a misunderstanding of a comment that was made, and then trying to bridge it back to other comments that were made that have absolutely nothing to do with this town or this governing body. They have absolutely nothing to do other than the freedom of speech that we all have in this country, a freedom of speech that was guaranteed by our Constitution And now I am being discriminated against by Mr. Fagnan in this motion because I exercised free speech, which may have been offensive to him. Well, that's just too bad. We have a right to be offended in this world. We're offended by a lot of things, but we don't get to take action on them. And as far as those rallies were concerned, Sharon, you have to understand that, yes, there were a whole mess of bad people there, but these rallies were sponsored by and were represented by BLM, Black Lives Matter, a Marxist organization. It's already been proven that that's the case. Antifa, it's pretty well documented who was there. And if you had a few white people there, then they're just as bad as the others.
There were a lot of white people there.
Well, you don't know how many. You don't know how many. You didn't.
But we
count
can
them.
identify
wait,
that there were black people there, but we
wait.
can't identify if there's white. John, that is not right. It's not right.
Okay, moving on.
Anyways.
Are your remarks
Anyways,
concluded,
moving
Don?
on. What's the basis for removal from committees, John Paul? I have to ask you, what's that basis of your, how do you feel that this board has a right to discipline a member?
Don, if you
Where
have,
did that
if you
come
want to
from?
challenge it, you're free to challenge it any way you want. If
Can't
it
hear
were,
you, John Paul.
I say you want to challenge it, you're free to challenge it any way you want. If I had my way, there would be a procedure where you could be removed from this board.
There is
And
a
this is,
procedure, John Paul.
well, I wish there was,
It's the same
Don,
procedure
because
for
I
you as
can,
it is for
One at
me.
a time, please.
so if
It's the
there was,
same procedure for both of us.
JP was finishing his remark.
Well,
and
he
then we'll be
hasn't
back
given
to
me an
you.
answer to my question, how he
Back to
feels he
J-
has a right to
Well, you
discipline
need to
a board
stop
member.
talking so he can.
because we represent the conscience of the community, Don, and you're clearly not in step with what we feel is an appropriate way to treat citizens or an appropriate way to express your views. When you write the things that you've written on Facebook, and oh, by the way, you want to mention Black Lives Matter, Don, it's well known that you received an award from Act for America,
Yes.
which is listed by the Southern Vermont Poverty
Oh, the
Law
Southern
Center.
Vermont Poverty Center. Wow.
Southern Poverty Law Center.
Thank you. You got the point, obviously.
Yeah, I got the point.
So I think that you have a long history, frankly, of racist activity. I'm personally aware you used the N-word during a committee, a police committee meeting, which
That's
was,
innuendo as well, and you can't prove it, and you know you can't.
you don't want me to call the witnesses who were there, Don, and I'm not going to take our time to do it.
Well,
I'm
you've
just
taken enough
responding
time
to you.
Tonight to bash me.
This is what my motion is based on, Don.
Mr.
the-
DiNardo, we haven't heard from you yet.
No, there's nothing I can add to this that's going to make it better or worse, Mary. So I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Don, anything further?
No, that's pretty obvious. We're welcome to the bash Don Chaffee hour, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
I will, is the question called? I would assume so.
Yes.
All in favor of the motion to censure Mr. Chaffee and to remove him from committees, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay. John, did you want to vote?
No, I'll just abstain.
Okay. All right. We have concluded the two matters that were reasons for suspending the agenda. We are now back on the agenda for this evening's meeting. Reminder that the orders are here for approval. I think those folks who are here in the room have already signed them. Joe, if you have a chance when you stop in, please sign the orders. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the select board minutes for September 14th. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve
Second.
and second. Any discussion? Additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone
I'll
opposed?
abstain, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Do we have those minutes or do I just sign mine? Okay, shall do. Now, we are at the time in our select board meeting where we take public comments, recognizing we have already taken some public comments. But if there are members participating here in the room or via Zoom or on phone who wish to be heard on any matter that is not on the agenda, this would be the time to do so. Okay, okay, come on, is that? Oh, okay, hi, Ed. I thought it might be.
I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to thank our police department for coming up on the post road. And I'd like to, I think it was well needed. We're getting a lot of traffic up there, a lot of quick traffic up there. Going back to the 2 incidents that we had where people had gone through the fences up there earlier, within the last less than a year, we've had 3 accidents up there. Counting those 2, we had someone just hit a pole. I'm really grateful to see you folks up there. Okay, I've talked to Eddie, I've talked to Ted. I know you guys have been tied up down at the mall, and I appreciate you coming up there. All right, I think that it's been a while. It's been about 6 months, hasn't it, since the last time you were up there? So I know you guys have been tied up, so I just want to let you know that I appreciate you being here. Okay, the other thing I'd like to ask, and you folks would know better than I do, is there any way to craft an ordinance or a law in this town to take into consideration these buildings that are closing down? In other words, we knew over a year ago, it's been about 2 years that the mall was done, wasn't it? And we've now waited, in only the last 2 months, charged them for our services of going down here, which I think is a good idea, and I don't think we charge them enough. Okay, but what the point I'm making is, can we craft some sort of law that protects? I really had the same thing with the Flory property. 20 years ago, it just shut down. And there's been vagrants in there. The building is burnt. The hotel burnt there, the motel, whatever it was. The building was let go to disrepair. And until we really stepped in and said, hey, look, we're going to take legal action, they finally made a move. Now, I know that they're a good family, been in town a long time, certainly longer than the 41 years I have. But the Diamond Run Mall has to accept, and some of these people have to accept responsibility for these buildings they leave. And I just can't see taking our police department and taking it in one part of the town while the rest of the town gets no services at all. Okay, and I'm not saying that there isn't, and you're not going up there. There are other things that they can be doing. We had 2 people get killed on an accident on North Main Street. We had 2 people get run over on crossing the road on South Main Street. There are little things that patrols that you folks run. So this is taken away. So is there some way of crafting some kind of law, and maybe you can go to the town attorney and find out, where these people need to take responsibility for their actions? And when we do have something happening, like we had at the mall, okay, then we can start charging for our service to be over and above what we normally have.
So I'm going to take that in 2 parts. As to the mall, you have been
charging them.
The Act 250 permit that they have require certain.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, so we have the hook there. And JP, as our health officer, has been enforcing an ordinance on the old and disused buildings and has had some pretty good success with that. So I'm going to point to him to reply if he will.
But do we have anything in writing that we can go back to?
So we do have what I would characterize as somewhat of a nuisance ordinance on the books that I have been able to utilize in certain situations. It's helpful, but I think your suggestion's a good one. I'll be happy, or the chair can follow up with our attorney to see how we might be able to strengthen that.
I mean, it's like, I happened to talk to Ted. Ted stopped by with the accident report, by the way. And we looked at he says, I thought you might want, and I said, I'd just like to know who hit the telephone pole. The fence posts that were knocked down were, nothing. So, I mean, I knew there was supposedly some sort of attack or something the gentleman had. But he did say to me, and we talked about how the police department was handling the southern end of town. And I know there was problems with the hotels and stuff like that. But this could happen not just in a Diamond Run Mall. It could happen to a hotel that goes out of business. It could happen to somebody's house that goes out of business. And we need something to really, we're wasting our valuable resources running back and forth. Now, Ted did say to me, and I looked myself, because I go down to Tractor Supply every now and then because I pick up grain and things for my cattle. And I drove around and he says, every day, there's a door that's wide open, that's barred open. And I said, oh, it can't be, and you told me once suspicious, but I am suspicious. So I drove around the mall and sure enough, I went to the front of the mall and there was a door that was barred open. Okay. So, if this is happening, it's taking our resources and spreading on somebody's property. That's become a problem. Why should we wait 2 years to start charging? Why don't we put something in writing that we can make this stuff happen a little quicker? That's all I got to say. I just wanted to mention that to you, maybe some consideration in it. And then once again, thank you guys.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Bailey, come up so we can see you, please.
Just second everything he just said. I think it's great. I'm up in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Actually, I came here tonight a little bit upset with myself because I was going to go to the school board meeting to support the Raider name. But hey, this is a lot more fun. The issue I have is with the speed limit up on North Main Street, and also the ability not for people walking around bicycles to be able to get across North Main Street up there because of said speed. I think majority of his trucks, everybody speeds up there, but the truckers come through there, tractor trailers come down through there 65, 70 easy. And I say that because I'm doing 40 and they go by me like I'm standing still. So I'm a little concerned about that, and I think maybe that should be addressed. And I was wondering if that radar unit that's on East Pittsford Road right now in front of your place could be put up on North Main Street. Or is that something the state has to do?
It doesn't meet the state qualifications,
Okay.
and it's forbidden to be used on state highways.
Okay, it's too bad. Yeah, could be, but I mean, something has to be done because somebody's gonna get seriously
It's
injured.
scary.
It
It's scary. It
probably will
really
be
is.
me,
So we,
because I'm on there a lot.
we are in communication with the city about getting a reduction of the speed limit from the city to Post Road. Right now, there's a section where it's 40 before it becomes 35.
Yep.
The city and the town are requesting that it be changed to 35 up to the Post Road.
Okay.
We do have in plan a sidewalk that would be, we expected it will be on the west side of Route 7 with a crosswalk at Post Road for people to get across, and then with a new path that gives you plenty of room by where Twitter's is.
Yes.
For pedestrians to go all the way up to the Comcast building. So
Great.
that's in the works too. So we are aware of the issue. And I'm hopeful that the reduced speed of 35 from Post Road South will stop that traffic, or at least knock it down a little bit. The reality is, Dick, is that 35 means 45.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's just the way it is. It's the way people drive. So
absolutely. Yeah.
we're trying to address that.
Now, how about from Post Road to East Pittsford Road?
So there was talk about the state did reduce it to 40. If you notice, when they put the new lanes in there, they reduced 50 to 40.
Yeah.
I don't know that the state's going to cooperate in reducing that to 35.
Probably not. Probably not. Okay.
Yeah, when we were selling corn, I mean, it was
And the bottom line,
horrendous to watch.
Yeah.
and the bottom line to this whole argument is that it doesn't matter what speed limit you put on that road. We can go through the motions, as JP said, we can go through the motions of meeting with the city and deciding that we're going to ask the state to lower the speed limit. None of that makes one iota of difference to these drivers. The only thing that's going to stop this is more enforcement. And until we get more enforcement, it's not, none of these other measures are going to make a bit of difference. They may make us feel better that we've tried, and it keeps honest people honest, like a lot does.
Yeah.
But you're right, Dick. The people that are speeding down there, they don't care what the posted speed is. no matter what you're doing on that highway, there's always somebody that wants to go faster than you.
Yeah. I mean, I try to, and I'll make this brief because you're sitting way over time here already, but I'm a large person. I ride on a very large bike and I wear very bright colors. And I was in front of Skip Pratico's place where there's no sidewalk. And I was on the road and the guy actually ticked the mirror on my bike with his truck. Now that's that's getting pretty close and a little concerning. That's why I'm here tonight, because that's, if you couldn't see me, I mean, I'm pretty hard to miss. But he just barely did. So I'm a little concerned about that. So, and I know there's a lot of people up in town that ride bikes and walk into town from up there because we're all friends. So we need to do something about it. I'm not sure what it is, but I look to you guys to support us on that.
JP was correct. In fact, he and I just signed what's essentially the intermunicipal committee request to the state of Vermont. It was us getting together with the city and asking that they reduce the speed limit on North Main Street and on South Main Street, as JP has described. And we are working on that sidewalk, which we call JP's sidewalk, which is in the scoping study phase. So we're trying, but we are aware that there are other entities and there are other places in town where we could enforce, and we have been trying to enforce the speed limit.
Yeah.
So
Another question for you, Constable. Where does your area of responsibility stop on the north end of town, or does it? I'm sure it probably must, right?
On the north end of town, just beyond Pinnacle Ridge.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
very much.
Okay.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Skip.
Stay safe on that bicycle.
I'll do my best. believe
Post
me.
Road's not too bad, or not Post Road, Creek Road.
Yeah, Post
You
Road
gotta
is crazy.
watch the farmers down there as well.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thanks. Okay, just 7 o'clock. Bill, do we have someone joining us? Tyler Richardson?
Tyler is on the call, yes.
Okay. You will recall that Tyler Richardson appeared before us a couple of weeks ago concerning the request from Cedar to plow the parking lot owned by Cedar. And part of that is part of a town road that we're not using. So good evening, Tyler. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. Thanks for having me again.
Okay, so I think we had left it with a couple of requests, some information.
Yep. So the information that seemed to be the central part of the conversation last time was the water runoff plan. And
Right.
so I presented to Bill, who I believe presented to the select board this evening, the plan drafted by Inman Kesselring Engineers. In our conversations with the engineers, we're not changing the flow path or adding additional runoff or anything like that. We're trying to achieve the natural flow path that's already there and reestablish drainage patterns that whereas now the water just kind of sits in the parking lot. So we're just helping shuttle the water to where it was originally designed to go.
Everyone's
Okay, so I'm assuming it's the diagram here. Everyone's got a copy in front of them. Where does the water run off to?
So they're in the little squared off area. There's a bunch of arrows that are kind of like pointing to where it says the grass channel, and it's sort of highlighted in blue there. That sort of symbolizes where the water will be running off to, is that grass channel. Are you seeing that on the map there?
Well, it's not in color, so we're straining a bit.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah,
This packet there.
it's the long map
Thanks,
thing.
John.
So it looks like is this on the west side of the property?
It's on the south side of the property, the
Okay.
southwest. Well, no, I'm sorry, the full south side, and then we'd be paving towards the west. So that the water is running off towards the west, I guess is my point.
Okay, questions from select board members? And our town road commissioner is here, Byron. Any thoughts that you might have on this?
No, I did have a chance to really study this over, and the drainage is intended to head toward the west and then flow northerly from there along the railroad tracks where everything is flowing currently. I did notice that they changed the flow pattern slightly in the area of our sewer manholes so that the drainage is away from that manhole cover so that we don't end up taking on water through that manhole cover. And then that there is a stone diaphragm, as Nicole calls it. Light rainstorms, that's probably going to absorb most of the runoff, and it's not going to send water to the west. The only question that I have here is there's a catch basin by the loading docks. Where does that discharge to?
There's a there's a water pump there that that pumps out into the grass there, and then pumps in a little, and then where else does it pump to? Yeah, it pumps up into the grass there. So there's a up in the little dip. There's a grass area up there. We have to manually have a sump pump.
It doesn't go to the sanitary sewer system then?
I don't believe so, but I'll need to double check that just to be sure. We have had problems with that pump in the recent last couple of months, so we've had that replaced. So I'll need to figure out for certain where that pump is pumping the water to.
That would be good. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I'd move we table this until we get those answers back.
Okay. Motion's made to table. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, so all in favor of tabling, awaiting those answers to the last questions, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, Tyler, we can schedule you back in at the next meeting if you think you're going to have the answers on that for us.
That sounds good. Yep, we want to get this taken care of.
Yes, okay, good. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are down to Byron Hathaway, Town Road Commissioner. Just as a reminder, we're going to try at 7:30 to connect with the mall people to see if they might be on. So if I disrupt, our order, it will be for that purpose. Thank you, Byron.
I had left on Mary's desk a copy of our annual report to VTrans called the Annual Financial Plan. And it's where we physically have to show that we're spending $600 a mile for maintenance on roads. That just needs to be signed and sent, and I'll send that back to Brian Sanderson.
Okay, this is, see if I can find it. Was it in the pink folder, Bill?
No, I left it on your desk, Mary.
One bar up on your desk individually.
Oh, God, I wish you wouldn't do that. Okay, here it is. It's a 2-pager. It is a chart showing a description of the funds coming in from the state and the estimated amount by class of road. Total anticipated is $988,178.88. That's money in. Expenses between winter maintenance, non-winter maintenance, and major construction projects, including retreatment and the Gleason Road culvert. Total amount expended, $988,178.88. The two amounts coincide. So what we are being asked to certify to, we the legislative body of the municipality of Rutland Town, certify that the funds raised by municipal taxes are equivalent to or greater than a sum of at least $300 per mile for each mile of class 1, 2, and 3 highway in the municipality. How many miles in our municipality?
48.
Okay,
plus-
so,
Plus some class 4 and legal trails.
so without doing any calculation whatsoever, if we're spending $988,000 on 48 miles of road, we're way over the $300 per mile required.
Correct. This is an old form that apparently they never update or change.
Wow,
Probably 60 years ago, that was probably a large sum of money.
probably was. Okay, so is there any motion to accept and certify?
So moved.
Motion's made
Second.
and
I'll second
seconded.
that, Mary.
Okay, so, and thirded, so, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any- Anyone opposed? Okay, I am signing this and passing it along. So we'll get that too. It's 2 pages, folks. Okay, that one's moving along. What else have you got?
Mendon trucking excavating bill. I don't know if you noticed in the highway that I made a note, or should have been a note there. I asked Kari to make 2 separate orders for that, so that that's the company that did the Gleason Road project. That was a $38,000 contract. He is asking for an additional $3,800 to that because of additional work that Josh Carvajal asked for during the pre-construction meeting that the day that the project was starting. So I told him to write it up separately, put it in there separate. I asked Kari to do it as 2 separate orders. I think it's appropriate. The original project, as it was bid out as 2 feet below the existing culvert. Josh came in and said, no, he wanted to change that. And they ended up 4 feet below the existing culvert, which required a lot of extra digging, while moving an extra machine in to handle the dirt. And the $3,800 certainly is appropriate and not overly expensive.
All right, so I'm not sure is there a separate invoice? I guess the bottom line is, do we approve an additional expenditure of $3,800?
Correct.
Over contract?
Right. That's why I asked Kari to issue it as a separate, the 3,800 as a separate order sheet. So you could at least sign the order paying the 38,000 that was
Okay.
the contract price, and then discuss the 3,800. If you wanted to discuss it over 2 different meetings, that would be fine. At least, the initial 38,000 could get done.
Okay.
But I'm not sure she did that.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the select board? I can entertain a motion for the,
I will say that we have up to $47,000 in Better Back Roads grant money that was going to pay for half the total cost of that project. So that of the 3,800, only half of that is going to be out of our pocket. We have 70,000 dedicated to that project. We're well below the cost of that. I just feel it's appropriate to pay that contractor that additional amount, because River Management changed their mind and increased the cost of the project the day the project was starting.
Yeah, I make the motion that we pay that bill.
Second.
the 2, the 38,000 and the 3,800
Correct, yeah.
additional. Okay, motion's made and seconded by JP. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of paying those 2 bills, please say aye.
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 Aye. None opposed, so we've approved payment of those 2.
And then just a couple other little things. I did finally get a meeting with the railroad people. They have determined that the leaking manhole in the swamp down behind Todd Transportation on Ranbury Road is outside of their right away, so I don't need any special permit from V-Trans for that work. All I need to do is contact Shane Philscott's office and just get a flagger, and we can go ahead
Okay.
And so
good,
that project's going to be taken care of here within the next few days.
Good, thank you.
On the other hand, there's the Cold River Road manhole that we have found. It is marked, but it's buried 2 feet deep off the shoulder of the road. Their consensus was they didn't want us to raise that manhole to the surface, as then it would make the manhole higher than their railroad tracks, and they did not feel comfortable with that, that it could be something that with a large piece of equipment or something, snow plow with a big wing on it on a railroad, they might hit it. So I guess I think we can live with that. It's marked. We know where it is. If an emergency arose, certainly it's not an issue just to go down there and dig that up if you had to access that. So, I'm just reporting that to you that was one manhole that's probably going to remain somewhat buried. I will be meeting with the RPC next week in regards to the road erosion inventory. We have a $4,600 grant from Better Back Roads to update that. It's every 3 years we have to update that inventory. That will be done during October. I will be enlisting some of their help, particularly with some of the computer work and getting this app that the Department of Environmental Conservation has, getting that loaded onto my laptop, and hopefully a lot of the old information we have can be put into that, which will save a ton of time in reviewing this
Is that, when
inventory.
you
and
say
getting it.
they're going to assist, is that the Regional Planning Commission?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
I got to meet with them, discuss the scope of work. They'll probably give me an estimate as to what they feel that's going to cost and whether that will fall within the grant to get that done. And then we have, it's the end of September. Usually by August, we get some type of document or information from V-Trans or from Cargill in regards to winter salt. Nothing has come out yet as far as pricing. So some of the towns around the state are getting a little nervous about where that's going to go. We were hoping in an email I got back from Tim Barrett that he was hoping that within the next few days, sometime this week, that he was going to be getting something from Cargill as far as what pricing will be for this coming winter. He said the sheds are full. He's got plenty of salt. Salt shortages shouldn't be a problem for the winter. We just don't know what pricing is going to be.
Okay. Do we have any salt on hand?
We have probably 300 ton on hand right now, which is, about a quarter of what we use.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have under new business item A, the board to review for approval the certificate of substantial completion for the Ranbury Road Water Project. So this is your bailiwick. Byron, what's your recommendation on this?
After reviewing all the costs and running through some of the numbers, everything seems to be in order there, including the extra $2,500 of retainage that was kept because of the paving down there.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Oh, and authorize me to sign for the board?
Yes.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve. I will point out that this contract came in under bid, and then there was also a $2,500 adjustment downward for us, so because of the dip in the paving. Any further discussion or questions of Byron on this?
I had just a little thing.
Well, let me finish and get a
Yep,
vote on
okay.
this. Okay. All in favor of me signing on behalf of the board the certificate of completion for Ranbury Road, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The AOT letter requesting reimbursement from grant funds, is that also you? It looks like B.
I think that's Bill's
Oh, okay. All right.
scoping study, I believe.
Okay, so I guess we'll hold on that. Yeah, sorry, Byron, you had something else?
And in my mailbox, there was a 3 copies of a personnel policy.
Yeah.
all three of us at the highway garage are not real happy with that, if that's gonna be the new policy.
Okay, it was the personnel policy with a sign-up sheet acknowledging that you'd received a copy of it. I think that's what we circulated. Was there anything in particular in the policy?
Well, for one thing, yeah, it says in there that you can change it anytime you want to change it. Yet you want us to sign, it's almost like signing a contract when you sign a personnel policy. So we were wondering about that provision. If you're signing something that says this is what it's going to be, but yet the board can change it at their whim or whenever they want to change it. What's the sense of signing it? So
You'd just be asked to re-sign the new provisions.
so anyways, and then there's the other issue where, currently under the old personnel policy, we were allowed to accumulate up to 30 days. And this policy takes that all away.
Yeah, I've never seen that 30 days, Byron. When this policy was put together years ago, we looked at all of those issues and discussed them fully before the board approved that policy. So I'm not sure where you got 30 days.
That was at a meeting when Walt and a whole bunch of us were here. This was, yeah, quite a number of years ago, and we hand wrote it in on our sheets because that was discussed and approved at that time. That we get 10 days every year, and we're allowed to accumulate 20 and carry in addition to the 10 that you get every year. But then if you don't use anything, you only get the 20 plus the 10. So you lose time, and then you get reimbursed for half of those at time of retirement, I
I
guess.
remember
or
the
whatever.
half.
Huh?
I remember.
And I think
the
that
half.
provision was still there. But we were wondering about the 30 days. I mean, both Walt and I have, been very careful about sick day use simply because we wanted to be able to have that 30 days because that's kind of a disability benefit before actual, if you got hurt on the job, you got 30 days before any type of disability benefit from anywhere kicks in anyways.
Yeah. Kirsten former town clerk, Kirsten Hathaway, just sent through a note in chat saying she thinks that Joe and Marie, I think, were both paid out of that 30-day reserve. So can you come up with approximate date when you might have been here? And we'll have Bill check the minutes from that meeting and see if that's something that we just missed. It sticks in my mind too, as some adjustment but I don't know if I was on the board at the time, but I remember the payout.
I think it was before your time.
It could have been, yeah.
It was before my time.
Yeah. So let's see if we can find something in the minutes, if you can narrow down.
Okay.
But you all have to sign that 1-page document, and that's just an acknowledgement that you have the policy.
Yeah.
It's not a contract that you're agreeing to it. It's a acknowledgement you've received it and read it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Anything else?
I don't think so. Any
Mary?
questions? Yes, Joe.
Yes, I have a request for Byron. Byron, Mrs. Baird would like you to stop by and discuss with her the edge of her property and McKinley Avenue after the new paving. She's having some difficulty mowing her lawn, and she was hoping that maybe you and her could come to an agreement on something that would make it easier for her. If you would do that, please.
Yep, we can do that. Be glad to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But
Byron,
Oops. Yep. Don.
I've had a couple of complaints, including my own, on that transition from the paved portion of the highway that's on Grove Street
To McKinley Avenue
to
on your
McKinley
side.
Avenue. It's just the hump is pretty high
that's-
and it tends to throw your vehicle.
Yep. That's on our list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I noticed it the other day and I said, yeah, I bet that's the hump Don's talking about. It's particularly noticeable on the north side of the road.
Yep.
North side of, intersection. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. When you say it's on the list, is that your punch list for last?
No, that's part of our cleanup stuff. to
Oh,
do.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would
JP?
you do?
Well, I'm going to bring up under recreation, Byron, but I just wanted to know if we needed signs to alert people they could be towed if they leave their cars in the park after dark. Is that something you could help Recreation procure? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
So would the plan be to feather that more or?
Yeah, we'll put a wider apron on there, so
Okay.
it'll be easier for you, it'll be easier for the snowplow, it'll be easier for everything. And I think at least the lower part of the apron at the fire station needs to get touched up a little bit too. And there's a couple of places where the asphalt keeps delaminating at the fire station that bothers the snowplow. We're gonna patch those in for as long as it'll last. But that's gonna get done. That'll be done this fall.
Okay. Anything else from the select board for our road commissioner? If not,
No.
thank you very much.
Nope, just one more thing. There's a line from the Dirty Harry movie. Says a man has to know his limitations, and I know mine, and I'm at the end of mine, and I'm telling you that I'm going to retire as of the 1st of January. And I have a letter to the board chairman stating
Okay.
that, along with a list of things that I will get accomplished before.
Okay.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. We will miss you
Time to go home and
greatly.
take care of some stuff.
Well, you might find it's a lot easier to do nothing than you think.
No, I
Except
won't be
that
doing
time
nothing. I'll
gets
be doing
filled up.
lots, but I appreciate all the time and effort that the taxpayers and voters have allowed me to serve them for.
Yeah,
You've done a good job, By.
Well,
Yes,
Byron,
we're very
you've left a
grateful.
great legacy of accomplishment, and you've done an admirable job. You can be proud of what you've done for the town.
Yes, thank you. Well said, Don. Bill, I'm going to leave this in the pink folder. If you could make copies of what Byron just handed me for the select board members and circulate that. Thank you very much. All right, Barbara Noyes Pulling, Town Planning Commission Chair.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Going to be hard to follow that news.
Yeah.
On a personal note, I would like to thank the board for reconsidering the Declaration of Inclusion tonight. As a member of, as a gay member of this community, that meant a lot to me. And I think it will send a positive message, a very positive message to current and prospective residents. So just wanted to relay that to you. With the Town Planning Commission, at our last meeting, we met with Krista Thomas of the Thomas Farm. She had a lot of questions about Act 250. Looks like they may be considering a number of subdivisions on their properties there. So we directed her to the District 1 office. We also are determining that we may have to do some housekeeping with our recorded subdivisions and boundary line adjustments with some of their property. So we'll take care of that. The bottom line is that the Thomases are in what she calls a liquidation phase. And this would be for both sides of Route 7, west and east. And it would be some of the residential areas and some of the commercial areas there. So we asked her to come back as soon as she knew more about what the plans were.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a word you like to hear too often.
Nope.
The liquidation one. So the other thing I had tonight, going to the Regional Planning Commission and the grant we have for the Pocket Park. I just wanted to do a review for you and what's coming up. We are getting input from stakeholders, from experts right now, and then we'll move to a public input phase of this. So I think we'll have one, maybe two meetings to go over what the stakeholders have presented, and the Town Planning Commission started some of that work as well. I will be able to get you some preliminary permit information and applications, and proposed design between now and next May for this grant. And I think I've mentioned that GMP is doing a relicensing of their dam right there at Center Rutland Falls, Meads Falls. They've had to do some archaeological research or resource assessment as part of that relicensing. And the segment where we're looking at for the pocket park, it was suggested that they do some additional shovel, some work there, some, archaeological digging work. And that was done this summer. It has concluded, but the report has not been put together yet. So there might be some information there. Most of the people involved with GMP and the archaeologists and the state historic preservation don't think there will be anything significant there because it's right in the floodplain, but we'll have to wait and see the report. GMP and its consultants are offering that maybe, if that's true, there's nothing significant there, that we could get a letter, kind of a clearance letter from the actual archaeological consultants to kind of clear us of that space as we go forward with more planning for this park. So that's what I have for this evening.
Okay, questions of our planning commission chair? If not, thank you. I'm sorry I missed the stakeholders meeting on the history. It probably was a grand event. Are there notes somewhere? Did you circulate those or?
Yeah, I'll make sure you get a copy.
I would like to see, I suspect the select board might like to see those too.
Okay, of just the historical group?
Well, there's two. You also did the recreation group, right?
Right.
Yeah, it would be good to see those. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it, Barb.
We have two from the mall.
Okay.
Ed and Michael.
All right, so we're going to skip down now to this is old business, item B, board to meet with representatives of the Diamond Run Mall to discuss security options. I see Ed Carr is on. And
Good evening.
Good evening.
Michael Sternberg.
Michael Sternberg as well.
Good evening.
Yes, okay, I see you now on my list. So what can you tell us? Give us an update, and if you have detailed information about security measures that are going to be made. There is a provision of the open meeting law that allows us to go into executive session for the purpose of hearing specifics. But I'll leave that to you to request as necessary. Okay. Are you at that point yet, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I think we are on some things, and if I don't know the procedures, please forgive me. Okay. I'll try to comply. Since the last time we got together, we've had no intrusions at the mall, and we can't even say that anybody has tried to get in the mall. Previously, we saw signs where somebody pulled something loose, or some nails were taken apart, or a broken window. We haven't seen any of that in the last 2 weeks. And obviously there's no intrusions into the mall. Michael is still working with us 5 days a week there. And his daily routine is to drive the outside of the mall, walk the outside of the mall, walk the inside of the mall, make sure everything's buttoned up and tight. And it has been. We had no trespassing signs installed last week, which apparently some people don't like that we did because they wrote little notes on them, some of them. And also, since the last time we got together, we've reached an agreement with a security firm for 24/7 surveillance of the property. Okay, and we are also working with Comcast to reestablish our communications capabilities at the mall or at the buildings. And the need for an executive session would depend on what details you all might have as far as questions with what we're doing with the 24/7 surveillance.
Okay.
I've been, the security company I'm working with suggested that it might not be a good idea to put it out in public what's being done because that may compromise the security measures.
Okay. If I might first ask, have we gone any further with the notion of closing the south entrance to the mall?
Yeah, we have, we're still evaluating that. And one of the things that has come out in our minds is what we don't want to do is hamper any public, any public efforts. Like there's COVID booster shots going to be given, I think once a week for the next few weeks up there. I know when I was up there last time, there was a few, pardon me, a food distribution program going on. And we don't want to hamper that at the same time as far as putting the barricades up. So we're still kind of like we're not sure when to do it, if that makes sense.
All right. And the other question was about the backup response if there is a problem at the mall and whether you have contracted with the
Good
sheriff's
question.
department. Okay.
Good question. With the security arrangement that we just entered into, any intrusions or problems will be handled by the security company. They'll respond to the site. And if it's something they can't handle, they'll call the Vermont State Police.
Okay. All right. Questions from the select board to this point? Any questions from the select board? Does anyone wish to delve deeper into security? And if so, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for that purpose.
No, I was just wondering, your backup plan, as you just said, involves contacting the VSP. It would seem that most of your problems may be at night, and I don't know if they've given you any indication of what their response time would be during those hours, as opposed to contracting with the sheriff.
I don't know what the response time would be, but the first layer of response will be the security company's personnel themselves. Okay. And then only if they can't. Okay. And then only if they can't get there or they need some help, would they call the state police? And I don't know what a response time would be.
No, I just don't know whether your security has the ability to apprehend and detain, and I don't believe they do. So that's going to require a secondary response if it's anything of significant danger or threat.
I can't speak to that with any certainty. What we're trying to do is make sure that we can respond without relying on the town's resources.
Okay. Any other questions from select board members? If not, I'll thank you again, Ed, for your time. And we'll probably be asking you to check in again as you get a little closer to concluding the security arrangements and when you know what you're going to be doing about the south entrance and at what time.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that security measures will be in place in no longer than 3 weeks. Right now, we're working with Comcast to get them to reestablish, and that's one of the hurdles that we have to get through. But things are already in motion as far as getting some of those security measures taken care of.
So maybe we should invite you back in a month. That would give you the 3 weeks plus one. Does that sound reasonable?
If that's okay with you, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Then
Actually, I really appreciate your time and your willingness to work with us. I really do. It means a lot.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
Good. Thank you, Ed.
Okay. You guys have a good
Michael,
evening.
anything you want to add?
No, we really do appreciate it. And, just to kind of double down on what Ed said, we're taking this very seriously. Our presence, my presence, I think is the beginning of a deterrent. So just being there and having my boots on the ground there, I think is certainly helpful. But we're taking, everything that you guys have said very seriously, and we're implementing as much as possible and taking it as far as we can. So we appreciate, kind of the open and candid conversation up to this point, and certainly something that will continue.
Okay. Well, thank you both very much and have a good evening. We'll check in a month.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Okay, Kari Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer.
Good evening. The only
Good evening.
thing, good evening. The only thing I have tonight to report is that our audit has begun. They came last week, and they are planning on making a second trip in sometime in October. They'll have everything ready for us as usual and on schedule for the town report. And that really is all I have to report tonight, unless anyone has questions.
Okay. Select board questions of our Town Clerk and Treasurer. Okay, well, I have one, and that is, and I would refer the board to new business item D, which is in your packet. Board to review for approval, contract with Department of Children and Families. You will recall that when we were at the height of the issues down at Holiday Inn for housing the homeless there, we were having quite a number of police calls requesting police presence down there. And we sent a bill to the state of Vermont and requested reimbursement for what our police department was doing. And nothing happened. So we pushed a little bit, and what the response is, the 40-page document you see in your packet. And Kari, this relates to you because it looks like you're the person as Town Clerk and Treasurer who would have to sign this. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this or had a chance to review it.
No.
And this, okay, so I would suggest we not take any action on this tonight. But I think you probably should. And frankly, we were looking for, I forget what the amount was. Ed, do you remember?
It's about $3,000.
Yeah, we were seeking reimbursement from the state for $3,000. And
So this is a standard state contract, but I would point out that they have the rates. I believe they have the rates for services wrong. That should be $45 per hour, and they have $45 per call. So that should be per hour.
okay,
Maybe the calls were less than 2 hours.
Would be a minimum of $45. Minimum call would be 45, but it's $45 an hour thereafter.
okay. So what's your pleasure with this? Should we let Kari read it?
So I guess I mean, this may be a completely silly question, but is there a reason why I'm the contact for that? Just because I'm handling the money when it comes in? Or, I mean, I guess I need a little more clarity. Of course, I'll review it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your question because I'm not sure why you were the person who was designated. Okay.
Yeah, me
She's the
either.
treasurer.
Yeah, I know, because she's the treasurer, but to authorize a contract is within the purview of the the select board, not the treasurer, I think. So what's your pleasure?
Move the table.
Okay,
Okay.
motion's
Oh.
made and seconded to table. Yeah, Don?
The standard contract for services states specifically in paragraph 1 or number 1 that
Yeah,
it's a contract between them and the Rutland Town Treasurer. So I don't see a problem with that. but-
They may have gotten that wrong.
yeah.
Huh?
I think they might have gotten it wrong, JP's. Because the contract, I think, is with the town because we're providing police services, not the treasurer's office. She handles the money, but,
Whatever.
all right. So maybe you can double check on that too, Bill, and find out how they came up with that. So anyway, all in favor of tabling for the next meeting, please say aye.
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 Okay, matter is tabled for the next meeting. Anything else for our town clerk and treasurer? If not, thank you very much, Kari.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Ed Dumas, town police chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we have calls for service. The last time around was approximately 53, nothing out of the ordinary what we usually handle. Had a couple accidents. I think the speeding issue on Post Road has been taken care of for a while because unfortunately that person got in an accident. So that, I think that will slow them down for the time being. Then there was one other matter. I guess at some point I'd like to request a police committee meeting with Mayor and Sharon.
Right, so I did check with Sharon, it looks like Monday's okay for you'll be back.
Right.
Is 9 o'clock Monday morning okay?
I don't know because I think we have training Monday.
Oh, okay,
Is that the taser?
I think so, yeah.
okay.
Thursday.
Tuesday? Yeah. I
What's
could-
Tuesday, the 5th?
I did bring the 5th.
The
okay.
5th, I am not going to be around.
Okay,
Apologize.
Wednesday, it's okay if we get it.
I'll check I think Ted will come in tomorrow. I'll let you, Bill know tomorrow.
Okay, good, because we've got enough time to get the thing worn, so it shouldn't be a problem. All right, thank you.
That's all I really have for business. Unless you guys have some questions for me.
Questions? If not, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Before I forget, this is for all department heads and folks. The deadline for the upcoming Circle publication is October the 1st, which is Friday. So if you have an article or articles that you wish to have published in the Circle, please get them to Janelle Fagnant. And I believe she sent around an email to all department heads. So just a reminder that that's coming. Also for all department heads, we need to start working on budgets for your various departments. So we know we'll be putting together the whole package, hopefully sometime in November. So if we can have budget committee meetings and start working on the budget in October for each department. And Bill, if you could get the word to like the listers and the planning commission and other folks and the town clerk's office. Okay, thank you. I wanted to mention those before. We will need an executive session briefly on a matter of pending litigation. And I'm digressed, but now Chris Clark, town fire chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Only one thing tonight. I got a new member I'd like you guys to approve. His name is Chris Morrell. We met with him last week and I think he'll be a good fit. So I'm hoping you guys will approve him.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion's made and seconded to approve Chris Morrell as a member of the fire department. Is he a town resident or elsewhere?
He lives in the city right now.
Okay, all right. Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
We got room for them on our city positions?
We do, yes.
Okay, thanks.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So we've approved Chris Morrell. Okay, Chief, anything else?
No, that's all I had for tonight.
Okay, do we have any questions of our fire chief? All right, thank you very much. If not,
you.
Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Congratulations. Enjoy. We'll have to have a conversation later. I just have one or two things. We're finishing up mowing, probably get about a week or two left, and then the grass is going to stop. The Halloween party, I have figured out we're going to do it around the back part of school. We're going to call it Trick or Treat on the Trail. We'll have the kids helping out. We'll have games spread throughout our trail that's literally right behind the school, which will keep our social distancing and still allow people to enjoy. And I think it's actually going to be kind of fun. The 7th grade is going to come up with games and activities along the trail as they go. So we have glow sticks and headlamps and all kinds of cool stuff to take place. So we're going to do that. We're going to pull that off. That's going to be on Friday, October 29th from, I believe we said 5 to 6:30 is when we're going to try that. That way it won't interfere with the city Halloween party, which is on that Saturday. I'm assuming they do that. They're redoing their parade, I believe. So there won't be any conflict and it won't be a conflicting school. So that's all that I really have for you. Everything else is
So Mike, I've had to, there's been a couple of cars left at the park.
okay.
And we can't close the gate when there's cars in the park. So obviously our signs tell people that if they're there after dusk, and a lot of times people say, what's dusk? My definition of dusk for everyone is if you have to use your headlights on your car, it's dusk. You shouldn't be in the park. But I've had to tow a couple of vehicles. And I would like to give people a little more warning. Our sign right now says you're trespassing after dusk,
Okay.
but I'd like to place tow notice signs in the parking lot for the upper ball field and the lower ball field. Would you have any problem with that?
Not at all. Would you just email me what you want said and I'll have the signs made?
It just says if you're parked here after dusk, your car will be towed.
Okay.
Just something, just at your
Your
expense.
expense.
Yeah, just something direct and simple so people get the message.
Not a
I hate to have to tow them, but we can't
You
leave
can't
them
have
in
them
there.
sit there. No.
Right. The last time we locked a car in, by the way, they broke through the gate. So
Yeah, we don't.
that was about 8 years ago.
We don't need that.
We don't need that.
No, we don't. They shouldn't be in there that late anyway. Yeah, I know people are used to their habits as, you know, if I walk at 6 o'clock, I walk at 6 o'clock, regardless if it's dark or not. You know, they put the headlamp on, but they do need to understand that the park does close at dusk.
Right.
Which you so eloquently put is when you have to turn your headlights on.
Right.
So people need to be aware of that. Other than that, I don't have anything unless you guys have stuff for me.
Okay. Questions of our rec director?
Cool. Thank you.
Guess not. Thank you very much. Will there be leftover Halloween candy, do you think?
Bill has that answer. Will there be leftover candy? Depends on how many people show up. I
Okay.
mean, I've already spent a pretty penny on it, so I'm sure there'll be a couple of pieces left for you. Any particular favorites that you enjoy?
Yes, we'll talk later. All right, Bill Sweet, Town Administrative Assistant to the Select Board.
My wife is listening. I have to be careful. There's no such thing as leftover candy. It's just candy that hasn't been eaten yet. It comes back here and it gets distributed in the bowls around the office. So, all right. So a few things left on the packet. We have the letter to Vermont AOT for reimbursement for the first bill we received for the scoping study. So this is a form letter. Everything in this is the form letter that they gave us. We just put it on our letterhead and send it in. So we received a bill from the Dufresne Group for $3,500 for their initial work. So we're paying that, and this allows us to seek reimbursement.
Okay, is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. This is a reimbursement of $3,500 for the Dufresne Group on the scoping study for JP's sidewalk. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Joe, I'm going to count that as an aye in favor, okay?
I hope so.
Okay. And I'm passing the letter around so each select board member can sign it.
Thank you.
What's next?
The next thing is we received from the city the letter based upon the intermunicipal committee meeting about speed limits. So they drafted it and sent it along to us. So that is there for your review and consideration.
We've signed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
The next thing is we are in the midst of our renewal period for our insurance policy. I've sent out department specific messages. I've gotten it back from highway, rec, and police so far. I just need the building part from the fire department, and we are all but done. So all the department heads have had their input on it, and I want to give you all the full packet on assets to review and see if anything you wanted to change. It is due by October 8th, which is prior to our next meeting.
Thank you.
We've
Did
been
anyone notice anything missing from our insurance policy coverage sheets?
We've added and deleted vehicles as appropriate for
Yeah.
the various departments, so
Okay.
that's
Do
been
you-
taken care of.
Do you need a motion to approve on this or?
No,
Okay.
it's just we wanted to make sure everybody agreed with building values and things like that. So seems to be, I just want to make sure you all have a chance to look it over and any comments or questions or.
Anything underinsured, that would be my greatest concern.
I did, that was one of the things I had the department heads look at, was the value of the buildings, things like that. We do have the municipal building on here, building and contents,
Okay.
generators, seems to be accurate.
And then there's all the vehicles.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two schedules. There's a property schedule and a vehicle schedule, and
So we treat that as information received.
Yep.
Alrighty,
yeah, so I'll get that finished up.
thank you.
I think that was everything I had.
Alright, just looking. Well, let's see, standard contract for services item. Did we just do that? Item D? Oh, the Department of Children and Families. Okay, this is tabled until the next meeting, so that goes in there. And with that would go the invoice, which is.
It was all part of that. Yep.
Okay, that all goes in.
And
there. I think
and
everything else is.
they did ask us to obtain an insurance certificate saying our police were covered, and we have that as well. We've already got that. So
Okay, very good.
everything's there that we need.
All right, so. And the League of Cities and Towns, that's just a cover sheet. That's the deck sheet, is it?
I'm not sure which one you're looking at, but
Uh,
there was a lot of stuff in there.
I know there was.
Information, but
Certificate, yeah, certificate of coverage.
oh
That's what you
yeah,
just
for the contract, yes.
Okay.
That's say our police department's covered
Okay,
and meets the requirements. Yep.
okay, very good.
So I've got all that.
Personnel, yep. Okay, I just want to make sure before Sharon heads out that there's nothing else that we need to vote on. I guess not. Okay, very good. So thank you, Sharon. Any questions of our town administrative assistant?
I do. Madam Chair, I just don't know whether you'd rather we do this in executive session or would I have a question on the installation of the security lock?
Oh, yeah, that should be an executive session, I think. And security lock. Yeah, we also need to talk about the pending litigation. So those are two matters. I'm just going through my list. Okay, anything else for Bill Sweet, our administrative assistant to the select board? All right. If not, thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome.
John Paul Fagnan, Town Health Officer.
So I would just make a motion, we refer Don Chaffee's questions to the Personnel Committee.
And that would be C in your packet.
Right.
Okay. There's a motion made. Is there a second to it?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded to refer item C, Don's questions, to the Personnel Committee.
The questions were not directed to the Personnel Committee, Madam Chair. The questions were directed to this Board of Selectmen, who is the policy board of this town. The questions can't be answered by the Personnel Committee. They must be answered by this board. Who sets the policy in this town? The Personnel Committee? This is the whole issue of this list. Who the hell is in charge of this town? That's the reason I have these questions posed.
Well, we do operate on the committee system, so we get recommendations when committee
There
members.
isn't any
can-
recommendations. These are direct questions to the board.
Have you talked with the health officer, since they all regard his position?
Pardon me?
Have you talked with the health officer about your questions?
That's what these are directed to right now.
Okay, then,
It's not, the questions are not asked of the health officer. The questions are asked of the board as to what the board has decided in terms of policy for the health officer.
well, the
You know,
motion,
this is just another example. Sitting right over there, you have the executive dictator of the town of Rutland. He dictated the meeting from the very beginning of this meeting. He dictated he dictated the discipline for a board member. He has been the spokesman on just about every single issue that's come before the board. He had the discussion about all the security. Now he's acting as chairman and deciding whether a board member can ask questions about policy to the full board.
well, Don,
And all
the
it is-
previous motions made by Mr. Fagnan had to be seconded, which they were, and had to
Well,
be
his motion
voted
is
on.
out of order.
Excuse me, had to be voted on by the
Well,
full
point of
board.
order, it's out of order. His motion is out of order. It's not appropriate.
Well, he has made a motion. It has been seconded to refer this matter to the Personnel
Who
Committee.
is the Personnel Committee?
Well, we've got to restructure that.
The Personnel Committee happens to be him.
He is on it, yes.
Oh, yeah, and there's only one other person
Members.
that's on it, and that's you.
No, I think it's Sharon.
No, I believe it's you and
No,
John Paul.
no,
Well,
that was the old
Is
list.
it posted up there?
It's posted somewhere, yeah.
Just another one of the 14 positions that he holds in the town. There's your
So,
dictator.
motion
That's your town
is-
manager
has
right
been
there.
made to send the issue to the Personnel Committee. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Did you
They
wish
don't,
to
you don't
vote,
like
Don?
conservatives on your board, do you?
Do
You don't like to answer questions either.
Did you wish to vote on this?
I did vote.
I didn't hear you.
You're hard of hearing as well. I said no.
Madam Chair,
So
at this point, I think Mr. Chaffee has become abusive to the chair of the board and to the select board. And I think that it's, at some point, we're going to have to do something to this.
Right.
I am tired of hearing him complain and complain and complain all night long. I got the floor, Don. It's my turn. You've been talking your butt off all night.
This is the first time you've been at a meeting in a month and a half. Where have you been the rest
What
of the
does that
time?
have to do with the kids? Look,
Okay, folks,
you're
please.
out of order, Don.
We have
You're
we have
disruptive.
just voted to send the issue of the health officer questions to the Personnel Committee. A reminder is that a result of the previous action of this board, we're going to have to reconstruct some of the committees of the board. So let's move on here. There is a place for discussing other business. Committee meeting updates. Did we have any committee meetings? I don't think we did. Okay, so that takes care of that. Update on project list. I would just remind again, the folks, as you're putting together your budgets for various departments, keep in mind these items on our list if they apply to you, and we should include proposals for funding if you think it is appropriate at this time.
I would like to request a meeting of the building committee, the new fire station committee, so we keep that moving forward.
Okay. So 2 meetings. Yeah, and we will have to do some. Are you making a proposal for a time right now?
No,
Okay.
but we need to get it scheduled before
Yes,
the
we
next
do.
meeting because we're going to have to hire some professionals.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll try. There are other committees that also need to meet.
Well, the building's kind of on a timeline, important timeline.
Okay. New business. A, we have done. That's the Ranbury Road completion. B, the sidewalk, we have approved that request for reimbursement. C, discussion of questions for the health officer has been referred to the personnel committee. D, the DCF contract is tabled so the town clerk can read it. And we can decide what to do next meeting. E, the draft letter regarding speed limit changes has been signed by JP and I for the intermunicipal committee. F, the VLCT renewal packet, department heads have looked at and we have received it for information. The Cedar maintenance request, we will hear that again in 2 weeks. That remains tabled so we can get information about runoff, I think it was. All right. H, any new business to be brought before this board? Any new business? Okay, old business. We did B, we've met with the Diamond Run Mall. We'll meet with them again in a month. Succession planning and storage of department records. Well, we have a real reason to start succession planning now because our town road commissioner has announced his retirement, well-deserved. So we are going to need to work on that. Any other old business?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, Don.
I was just looking for maybe an update report on the matter of the septic system that wasn't approved by the state of Vermont up in Sand Hill.
And I think I said I was going to look into it and I have not. So we don't know. Oh, Sand Hill.
Well, we call it Sand Hill. It's the,
On the backside of the walking trail. Is that the one we're
no, it's
talking
up
about?
in, it's up in the DCF. Colonial Drive.
Okay, yeah, I have not looked into it. Okay.
Two people at the local office. Neither one of them seemed interested in responding to the issue. There was no permit, there was no application for a permit, and when I pushed further, they stopped answering me.
Okay.
Patrick Dokes is the state employee responsible for septic in our area.
I can't hear what JP is saying.
Could you raise your voice?
Sure. Patrick Dokes is the state person responsible for septic in our area. I have his contact info, Bill. I'll get it to you.
Okay, so thanks.
Well,
Bill will-
it's a pretty serious matter.
Well, yes, it's actually more of a state enforcement matter because
I
it's a
believe it
state.
is.
Yeah. So we're trying to get the right person to tell about. Okay, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for 2 reasons. One is pending litigation and the other is, what's it?
Two questions of our town administrator. Security question.
Oh, the security issue.
question
Okay.
And also.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on those 2 issues, pending litigation and security
So
locks.
moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we're in executive session. Thank you. Motion's
Second.
been made. Joe, did you second?
I did, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, definitely
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting's adjourned, 8:23.